Why is PlayStation's cynical decision to end physical discs causing so many of us to have an existential crisis? Let's talk about it. Hey, it's just the gems. I'm Brandon, and I've broken up with PlayStation. I canceled my PS Plus subscription, and I'm committed to not purchasing their PlayStation 6 or their PSP 2 or whatever else they might come out with next. I think doing these sorts of mechanical things, like going through the process of canceling a subscription, is helpful to me, as is the fact that the news from Sony dropped while I was at Anime Expo 2026, meaning I was fully distracted the whole time, so I never really had time to sit with my feelings about the whole thing. But now I'm back home, down in my game room, which doubles as a library of primarily PlayStation video games, and I'm kind of having to face it. This era of our hobby is over. But can we possibly bring it back? Maybe. Let's talk through it, shall we? I called Sony's decision cynical. And what I mean is, they know that a lot of what they're saying to justify this is not true. They also know that they have to lie about it because of how unpopular a decision it is. They can't just say, we want to make more money from every game we sell, so we're going to force you into our digital ecosystem whether you like it or not, because it makes us more money. It's what they mean, but they can't say it, you know? Locking an entire population within their walled garden would be immensely profitable for them. If you've been on the internet at all lately, you've probably heard of something called a K-shaped economy. This is, in a very basic nutshell, not an economist, but it's an economic situation where those who have more money tend to get even more money, while those who don't have a lot of money end up with even less. See, Sony doesn't even need its entire player base to come along with them into their bold digital future. It just needs its wealthier fans to be willing to pay more. They have more, they can spend more. We have less, we don't matter. I think they're miscalculating quite a bit, though. Sort of like Disney did when they made that ridiculous $5,000 for 2 nights Star Wars Galactic Cruiser luxury hotel thing. Not enough people have enough disposable income to make their plan work. On top of that, Sony just doesn't have the lineup of exclusives and first-party games that they used to have. The reasons for going all in on PlayStation are far fewer today than 20 years ago. Couple that with a likely PlayStation 6 costing more than $1,000, and more people are either going to walk away from the hobby or just save a bit more and invest in a PC if they want to play most of the bigger budget AAA games. When things like this happen, as a community, we want to try and make a difference. I know a lot of people are hopeful that canceling their PlayStation Plus subscription and signing petitions and sending angry tweets are going to convince Sony to reverse the decision. I'm doing those things too. And who knows, maybe they will reverse their decision for a while. Maybe they'll punt it to 2032 or 2034 or even 2036. But so long as there's strong financial incentive for them to eliminate physical from the market, they're going to continue to pursue it. Only next time, they'll be a bit craftier about it than just dropping a tweet in the middle of the day. They'll sugarcoat it. They'll offer games that are $10 cheaper than physicals were, or they'll create a robust lending system so that you can still share games with your friends. They'll do something next time that will help the bitter pill go down a bit easier. And that means there'll be less resistance next time. And that means physical games will finally go away forever. I'm not saying it's pointless to try. What I'm saying is, if we want even the possibility of this decision being canceled or at least delayed, we can't back down at any point. Sony releasing this statement at the very beginning of their fiscal quarter was not a mistake. They did so because it delays the consequences of having to meet with their investors by 3 months. Their hope is that the anger will have dissipated by then and subscription numbers will tick back up. It's actually a safe bet on their part because if the internet has done anything to us collectively, it's shortened our attention spans down to practically nothing, and it's increased our capacity for FOMO by an immense degree. All Sony needs to do is announce an incredible perk for PS Plus, an amazing first-party title, something to make people excited, and a huge number of people will be back on board. The anger will go away. Now, that's giving 2026 Sony a lot of credit. I actually doubt that as a company they're able to walk and chew gum at the same time anymore. They are flailing and floundering. But if they're smart, this is what they're planning. And if we want any chance of things getting better, we can't fall for it. If you'll forgive me, I think I'm just going to continue rambling. I have a lot of disconnected thoughts and feelings about this, and I figure you all probably do too, so maybe we can just talk about all this. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments too. I've been thinking a lot about why this whole thing is making me so sad. I consider myself primarily a player of games. Sure, I'm a collector, but I feel like I could leave that part of gaming behind without an issue. Like, say if I decided to go fully digital on PC, I wouldn't be upset about that. I think the key, though, is that would be my decision. But truthfully, I've always said that I'm a player first and foremost, and that if physical games went away tomorrow, I'd be perfectly happy to keep playing new games digitally, because that's what I care about, the experience of the game. You can't contain an experience on a disc or a cartridge or even in the data that makes up the game. There's more to it than that, a humanness that makes it greater than the sum of its parts. And part of me still feels like that's true of me, that I'm a player and not primarily a collector. But then why do I still feel so sad about all this? I guess there was something comforting about the idea that most of the games I would ever want to play were out there in some physical form, that I could stumble upon one day at a garage sale or a flea market and be like, oh man, I remember hearing about this game. I never got a chance to play it. I'm going to grab it and take it home right now. It made me feel more connected to the hobby. So I think part of what makes me so sad is the fact that everything I love, excluding my friends and family and people in general, is becoming ephemeral. There is no artifact to hold in my hand to represent the thing to an observer in the world. As a kid, I had an extremely active imagination. I had whole worlds running in my head at all times. As I've gotten older, that's diminished an appropriate amount since I have to pay taxes and stuff now, but I still have a strong propensity for imagination. And with games in particular, a large amount of that experience happens in my imagination. Games just do that to me. But every aspect of that game now exists in the ether. It's all ones and zeros, and I don't have anything to hold anymore. It's sad. Video games were always seen as a childish hobby. At least when you're around my age. Back when we were kids, there weren't many adults who played video games. Nintendo started out with a mission to create fun, distracting toys for children. And sure, games were a ton of fun, and if an adult was comfortable enough with themselves to indulge in a little fun, they might enjoy video games too. But culturally speaking, games were for kids. Some of my best childhood memories revolve around opening up brand new video games on Christmas morning. That probably tells you something about the sort of kid I was, just in case the room I'm standing in didn't deliver that same message. I was an introverted nerd who liked video games more than I liked most people. Now, I've changed a lot as I've grown up. I think I'm more sociable now than I've ever been at any point in my life, but those old days are still really important to me. The idea that future generations will never get to have those same experiences, it's pretty sad. I know it's consumerism. It's not necessarily the most virtuous of things to mourn, but I'm still mourning it. In a world where PlayStation discs don't exist, where Xbox games are all subscription-based, where Nintendo is pushing cartridges with no actual data on them, what becomes of the collecting hobby? I have a thought, and I don't know enough about logistics or the laws around this stuff to say with 100% certainty it would work, but here it goes. I think it would be cool to see a complete reversal of roles. PC becomes the home of physical games, the place that collectors gather to put together their massive collections. One way to start this is by producing new games and publishing them on some sort of physical media that a computer can interact with, some kind of thumb drive or even a disc. I actually love the idea of unique thumb drives being the way to deliver game data in a physical form. I have the Day of the Tentacle Collector's Edition on PC, and that comes with a cool purple tentacle thumb drive that has the actual game on it. I know that's not going to be as cheap as a Blu-ray disc, but as someone who still does love physicality in my games, I'm willing to pay for it. But if the mass market isn't willing to, I think there's a scale problem. Companies aren't going to want to reinvest in physical if the scale isn't there to make it profitable for them and affordable for us. So this paves the way for companies to create a sort of boutique physical market. Small businesses that can produce physical versions of games, sort of like how Limited Run works with publishers, except they wouldn't be going through platform holders like Sony or Nintendo to produce the physical games. They'd produce them on their own for use on PC, which doesn't have those same sorts of licensing restrictions. This would put the price of new games somewhere in the $100 range, I'm sure, but there are definitely games I'd be willing to pay that amount to hold in my hand. For those who don't want to pay that, there's still digital. It's not going anywhere, clearly. And I'll end off with that. If you're good with digital, if you don't need physical games, that's cool. But I recommend you invest in a decent PC and start buying your games there. There are so many more options. DRM-free storefronts like GOG, a plethora of Steam sales throughout the year, code discount sites all over the place. The digital landscape is wide open and free on PC. Investing in a PlayStation 6 and only giving your money to Sony means you're going to be giving a lot more money to Sony. The only ones who benefit from your loyalty are them. Treat yourself better than that. Anyway, that's all. Thanks for indulging me and my whining. Hope you're having a good week, and I'll catch you next time.